up on a little bit of this Art Bell, and this is going to be with Gordon Cooper.
In Shawnee, Oklahoma. You didn't know that. Attended the University of Hawaii, graduated USAF Institute of Technology with a BS in Aeronautical Engineering. He has 11 years of graduate level training in space technology, space mechanics, lunar geology, spacecraft design, and flight testing with NASA. Also a graduate of USAF Jet Pilot School, USAF Experimental Tech Pilot School, USAF Jet Engine Rebuilding School, United States Navy Underwater Demolition Team, and USN Helicopter School. That's a lot of school. Served as Experimental Flight Test Project Manager and Test Pilot at Edwards Air Force Base, 1956 through 1959. Selected as a Mercury astronaut in 1959, one of 4 surviving space pioneers from the days when there was indeed a pretty good possibility of cataclysmic booster failure or even being stranded in space. Today, Gordon Cooper lives in Ventura, California. He's president of Galaxy Group, Inc., a highly experienced engineering design group and engaged in generally modification of existing aircraft and design and manufacture of new aircraft on the drawing board based partly on his own experience with UFOs is a design for Vantex 2000, a vertical lift craft with saucer-shaped wings attached to a fuselage. Gordon thinks the saucer shape is the way we should have been going with aircraft design for a long time, and plans to build this vehicle complete with 4 vertical lift fans. He flew the last Mercury mission in 1963, 22 times around the Earth, 32 hours. Still, by the way, the U.S. record for longest solo space flight. On this flight, at one point, you may recall, if you're old enough, he lost all electronics, and then, therefore, was the first man to manually control re-entry from space. Here is Gordon Cooper. Gordon, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Our phone connection is not the greatest in the world, Gordon, so you're probably going to have to try and scream at me if you can.
Okay.
That's better. Gordon, you are now in your 70s, aren't you?
Yes, I am. 72.
72. Did you think, as you think back on it, you were a test pilot. I mean, a lot of test pilots died testing airplanes. Did you ever figure to make it to your 70s?
Well, of course, I'd always hoped to, right? Of course, in those days, 70s sounded pretty old.
That's right. But I mean, many times during your career, you must have thought, I'm going to roll the dice, and one of these times it's going to come up the wrong way.
I think most of particular fighter pilots and test pilots have become kind of faithless. They figure when it's your time to go, you're going to go. And nothing can jump you out in front of the truck, but on the other hand, when it's your time, you'll go.
Then the next question might be, why be a test pilot? In other words, my passion is radio, of course. I'm consumed by it. I always have been all my life, and I would presume your answer would be pretty much the same way. Consumed by aircraft and flying. That is.
Well, that's right. When you really look at it, salary among test pilots, certainly among space flyers, is doing pretty good. We have worse fatalities on the highway.
Actually, that's quite true. You were also on the top. It's not actually the right stuff. I think toward the end, right at the end of the right stuff, showed you on top of the booster. And running through your mind in a moment like that. I mean, what does run through your mind in a moment like that? You're sitting on a virtual bomb. It's designed to go that way.
Basically, it's up to the all see and build all those little parts and testing out so carefully, did a good job on them.
I forget, I think it might have been in some recent space movie I saw just before launch, one of the astronauts commented that he realized how many moving parts this thing has, and they were all built by the lowest bidder. I guess that's probably true, too. And at other times, Gordon, you, I know, saw some of our rockets blow up, and I guess when you stand there and you're fairly close and you see one blow up, that has to be imprinted very heavily on your mind.
Oh, yeah.
It is, you know.
There's something on your right doesn't blow up like that.
A lot of them, most Americans wouldn't begin to understand why a person would be willing to roll the dice that way. What is so exciting? What is so magnetic to get somebody like yourself to do that?
Well, it's a fascinating job, and it's a good job. It's very self-satisfying to be able to do a good job, and very, high technology job.
You flew a lot of experimental jets as well. Did you ever get close to trouble in any of those?
Oh, yes, on occasion.
With respect to the last Mercury mission, to all of a sudden lose all of your electronics, just all your electronics suddenly gone. Do you think you were going to live through that?
Yes, I was planning on it. I had done some practicing on that in the simulator, figuring the worst thing you could happen would be to lose all your electronics. So I had practiced on the simulator quite a bit on that very thing.
Was it a tough thing to do? In other words, manual reentry. The astronauts today, of course, all rely on computers and backups to that. But is it a pretty narrow window? In other words, you have to do it very carefully, lest you burn up.
Well, you have to, throw a narrow window to hit. You can't come in too steep, or you can't go in too shallow. So it's a fairly narrow window, but it's not that difficult to do. You just have to stay on top of it.
So, what instruments do you watch when you're manually re-entering that keeps you within this narrow little window with no electronics at all?
Well, the main thing you have to do is keep the rates from building, because the spacecraft is basically unstable. And then it starts to oscillate around the little bit, and you have to crank those rates out. But you don't have any altitude, and if you look at it with electricity, they're all gone.
So, it's kind of like going down a curved road with cars, something. In other words, you keep correcting.
That's correct.
Gordon, there have been a million rumors over the years that have flown around about you with regard to a UFO that you supposedly saw on a Mercury mission. Now, that rumor isn't true, is it? You didn't see one, did you?
Somebody made a lot of money selling your bunch of lies on that one.
Did they?
Yeah, it was totally untrue.
But somehow, once they told us, though, the story stuck no matter what.
Oh, yeah, it even got embarrassed on several times.
The funny thing is that even though that's a complete BS story, the fact of the matter is you have seen UFOs, haven't you?
Oh, on one occasion I saw some strange vehicles that we claimed were UFOs.
Where was it?
We met, but I never had the occasion to really see one up close.
Where did you see this?
Over Germany.
Germany. Can you describe what you did see?
Well, it looked just like they were fairly high altitude, and it looked like flights of fighters flying over, flying the same basic kind of formation that we fly in fighters. They were going in general from the east to west. And when we got scrambled over some of the airplanes and tried to get up closer to them to see what they were very, they were looked just like saucers and metallic looking, but we couldn't get any close enough to get any more detail on that.
But you got enough detail to see that they looked like saucers.
Yeah, you couldn't see any wings on them.
No wings. And their speed relative to yours?
Considerably faster.
Did you report that?
Oh yes, it got reported.
How did they handle the report?
Oh, I don't know. I was just a lowly first lieutenant at that time, so I don't know how the report was handled.
How did you handle it? In other words, you saw something that obviously was not one of ours.
Well, it was not one of ours, but of course, it was during the height of the Cold War with Russia at that point in time, and we really had no way of knowing what Russia might be designing and might be building. So we really couldn't rule out that it might be some kind of new Russian aircraft.
One of theirs.
Right.
Well, looking back on it now, I don't think they had anything like that, or at least history presently doesn't tell us they did. So I guess it wasn't one of theirs, and I guess it must make you wonder a lot today.
Yeah, but looking back now, it's just like it was some kind of extraterrestrial vehicle.
I understand that some of your film following a Gemini 5 mission was confiscated. They came and they confiscated your film. You had apparently been taking shots from orbit, I guess. And, you know, it says here in the material that was sent to me, Gordon, that you were able to, now bear in mind, folks, how long ago this is, you were able to get photographs good enough to show license plates on cars on the ground. Is that true?
That's true.
From orbit?
Yes, well, we were using a 1250 millimeter Questar lens, so you might expect to get some pretty good detail.
Well, you might, but, you know, years and years and years ago, we were boasting that the very best satellites, spy satellites we had, were capable of getting perhaps a license plate or something like that. So if you could do that then, one has to wonder what they can do today.
Yeah, I would assume that we've improved over that considerably. You overflew. Looking back on it now, I understand you were really angry when they confiscated your film. Looking back on it, do you think it was? I mean, why do you think they took that film? Well, I think I only found out fairly recently, in just recent years, from one of the men who was involved in the confiscation, that the reason it got confiscated was that I had inadvertently we were asked to make pictures of airfields and pictures of ships at sea and pictures of cars in parking lots so they could measure resolution. And one of these airfields that I had come over and snapped unknowingly turned out to be some little area they called Area 51.
Area 51?
Yeah, how about that?
How about that? Do you know where I am, Gordon? You know
where are you?
No, you don't know. I'm in a little town called Pahrump, Nevada.
Oh, yeah.
And you see, just over the mountain from me, Gordon, is Area 51. It's just over a mountain range here. And I'm telling you, Gordon, we see things from time to time in this town, and just about everybody in this town can tell a story that absolutely cannot be accounted for. They simply can't be accounted for. In my own case, I saw a large, triangular, silent craft pass directly over my head. I was standing there with my wife, silently, not making a sound, floating, not flying, doing, 30 miles an hour, perhaps not enough to support aerodynamic flight of any sort that I know. I was in the Air Force, and I used to get to fly in C-130s a lot, Gordon, and so I know what a C-130 is. And 2 weeks after I saw what I saw, a report came out in our local newspaper which said, yes, indeed, on that night there had been a secret mission that may have overflown the Pahrump Valley, that's where I live, and that it was a C-130 aircraft. And I had never been so insulted in my entire life. So we see these things, and they probably come and go from Area 51. As a test pilot, Gordon, what do you imagine? I probably shouldn't even ask this. What do you imagine? After all, the stealth now is why it's old news.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do you imagine we're working on now?
I don't know, but I hope we're working on something exciting because we're spending a lot of money apparently there. And most of all the money we're spending, we're getting, something pretty exciting.
Return to the tax dollar?
Right, and I'm sure we probably are.
I'm sure we are. All right, Gordon, hold on. We're at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to U.S. astronaut Gordon Cooper. And this is a unique opportunity to ask him just about every question I can think of about what it's like to be in space, what it's like to sit on top of one of those rockets. And, yes, what may be out there that we don't know about. Or maybe we simply don't admit it. So we'll try and cover as much of that ground as we can. Gordon Cooper, I'm Mark Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM. All right, once again, Gordon Cooper, and the name of the book is Leap of Faith. Gordon, why is it called Leap of Faith? Why that book title?
Well, my spacecraft, the Mercury spacecraft was named Faith 7.
Faith 7.
So I guess that was kind of a nice tie-in.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, maybe it's your publisher, HarperCollins, putting words in your mouth, but these are pretty strong words. It says here, Leap of Faith is Gordon's first-person story told in his own words with his co-author, Bruce Henderson. Though it is part memoir and part adventure, its underpinning from beginning to end is his strong and unshakable belief in extraterrestrial intelligence. That's an incredible statement. Is that true?
Well, I certainly believe that God created a tremendous big universe for us. Everyone who's going into space, it's a very great humbler because you realize what a big, monstrous place the universe is. And when you think about possibly 400 other planets that we know of right now that could have atmosphere similar to ours, it makes you wonder if we aren't being kind of vain if we think that God populated only this one planet.
That's right. And as they said in the movie Contact, what a great waste of space it would be.
Right.
When you were in orbit, you were there for quite a while, 22 orbits, 32 hours, that's a long time. You would have time, I would presume, during that time, to look out from your spacecraft and yourself contemplate everything that you're seeing, which is a lot more than we see down here. And did those kinds of thoughts and wonderings cross your mind then, Gordon?
Oh, I thought so, yes, and you're right, and the interesting thing is, when you're up in orbit, out of all the atmosphere and everything, you see about 100 times the amount of stars that you see here on Earth. So they made, you realize that there's just millions and millions and millions of them out there. And many of those stars you're looking at are the suns of another solar system.
Kind of like from 2010. Oh my God, he said. The stars. Full of stars. Yes, and now we know, as you point out, that there are probably planets around many of those stars. We're finding more all the time. So the probability of life would seem rather high. You combine that with the meteorite that they've been found with saline water inside of it, and gee whiz, the probability of life seems to get higher and higher, bigger and bigger out there. So,
well, you probably ruled out the fact that they may get not now, but certainly at one time there may be life on Mars.
In fact, it is likely that at one time, or at least possible, there was life on Mars. We know there was an atmosphere. We know there was water once on Mars. All of that's true. I guess I can't resist, Gordon, so I'll ask you. There's been a lot of controversy about space, the so-called space on Mars. And they have gone back and they have rephotographed the space on Mars in what many people consider to be an angle that did not do service to the first photograph that we saw. In other words, it was at such a terrible angle that, frankly, it looked like a filled cat box or something rather than a face. What do you think about the face on Mars?
I just don't know, it could either be something that someone made, like some of the big symbols that were done down in Central South America, or it could be just a natural erosion of some kind, possibly. But I just don't know what to make of it. I guess that's one of the reasons we need to send some manned missions to Mars and check some of the things out on closer.
Gordon, let me ask you this, and I'm sure that you are very loyal to NASA, but is NASA today the same NASA when you flew?
Well, no, it's just, of course, much bigger and being bigger and more bureaucratic is certainly probably somewhat more inefficient. But NASA does a tremendous lot of good and a lot of good work. And if I can criticize, one of the things I can criticize NASA the most on is the fact they really don't toot their own horn quite enough. Because they do a lot of good work in aviation firms that people aren't even aware of.
That's absolutely true. You're right. They don't toot their horn a lot, and their horn does not get tooted all that much anymore by the media at all. They just don't treat spaceflight the way they once did.
No, they don't.
What do you think happened to the American people? You think they got...
Well, of course, I think if we start going back to the moon and doing some manned Mars landings, we'll find that people are still represented as ever.
Gordon, it's been 30 years plus since we went to the moon. That's a long time. I remember it, of course. I'm old enough. I'm 54, and so I remember it as a child. And we haven't gone back.
That's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yes, it is unbelievable. Why?
Well, you can say politics, or you can say all kinds of reasons. But I just think we have not had an administration in that really had the courage and the wisdom to really put things together and really get going on it again. And certainly a lot of it has been NASA's fault too. NASA has not had the courage or the wisdom that NASA years ago had.
Well, that's exactly what I meant when I asked you that question about NASA then and NASA now. NASA then was much more of a an adventuresome organization, much more of a risk taker. And I guess it's not surprising, is it, Gordon, that as an organization gets larger, it takes fewer risks. And
no, they get beat up pretty bad by the politicians too. You know, Congress beats the heck out of NASA all the time. I'm sure they get kind of beat down, you know, from time to time.
NASA, when they are asked about the possibility of extraterrestrial life, or even more directly to the point, possibility that there are things in our skies that cannot be explained, NASA does get a bit defensive on the issue, or they don't like talking about that sort of thing. We had a great big investigation in this country called Project Blue Book, as you well know, that ended with a statement that whatever these are, and they certainly could not explain everything they investigated, they are not a threat to national security. Can you buy that statement?
No, of course, Blue Book was done by the Air Force, not by NASA.
That's right.
And Blue Book was, in my opinion, was such a cover up to, you know, just whitewash the whole thing and hopefully the whole thing will go away.
Blue Book was strictly a cover-up and a whitewash.
In my opinion, that's what it was, right.
Okay. Gordon, in your opinion, should there be a modern day version of Project Blue Book, or whatever it is they would like to call it today, that would investigate what is in our skies? Is there sufficient evidence to warrant reopening all of this legitimately this time?
Well, as far as if you could have a centralized, I had recommended several years ago that we use the United Nations, you know, as a repository for all information and all investigative teams' data to come into one central location that would serve a neutral ground. I don't know where it's, you know, I don't really care where it's done, but we do need somewhere where correlate all these sightings and all the data that's brought in to see whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Do you think such a thing is politically possible right now?
I don't know. Very likely it is.
It may just be. Some recent surveys of the American people, Gordon, have been very revealing, and a majority of the American people now believe that these things do fly in our skies. They believe they are real. And if you have that kind of consensus, you would think that would give some of the politicians enough backbone to call for such an investigation.
Yeah, you would think so, and it certainly would have a good chance of getting a very favorable reception in the public.
You had an experience which I had heard about over the years, Gordon, at Edwards Air Force Base. Something about a couple of cameramen. Can you tell me about that, with a close encounter with something or another?
Well, my experience was really second-hand, but I had a crew who was working for me who was photographing a landing and training site new that we were installing on the Hidden Dry Lake there. And the trough was put in over and landed about 50 yards from them. And they stayed on the hill and close to that to get pictures, and it lifted up, put the gear back up, and took off.
Did they get pictures?
Oh, we got pictures.
They did.
And then I had to go dig through all the regs and find out what, who the calling was in the report there, that's for regulations.
Wait a minute, you made the call to Washington?
Right? Oh, it was helping us out.
And what kind of call was that?
Well, I asked for airport reg number, I can't remember the numbers of them now, but if an unusual sighting is made of any kind of unidentified flying object, you will call this particular number and report.
Oh, really? No kidding. First of all, I never even heard that there was a special number for a UFO, unidentified flying object, whatever you want to call it. But there is such a number, was such a number, and you called it.
And I called it.
And you said, guess what? We've got photographs of
A strange little vehicle that doesn't have any wings on it.
strange vehicle that doesn't seem to have wings that landed at Edwards Air Force Base. TV. And what did the person on the other end say?
Just a minute, I'll get the Colonel so-and-so. And then before long, I was talking to Colonel General.
A general.
And he said to tell me, do not run the branch of those sounds. And the negatives, just put in the top, and we'll make a arrangement for having going to Washington immediately.
He told you, don't make drinks, fly into Washington right away.
Right.
And I assume that is precisely what you did.
We put him in the pouch, and some guy came around to the office and picked him up in the pouch and last I saw him.
And how long was it before some general called you back to explain exactly what it was that was in the photographs?
Well, that was 40 years ago, and I'm still waiting.
Phone hasn't rung yet.
Phone hasn't rung yet.
Gordon,
Generals don't generally call captains back and explain things, though, frequently. So.
But I mean, as you pointed out, it's been all those years, and you rose in the ranks, and you did a lot of things that got you a lot of public exposure, and you might imagine that the general might have called you back some years later. But no, huh?
No, who knows? Maybe he retired on after that or something.
Oh, he retired.
No, I say maybe he did.
How many people, Gordon, do you think in high positions are retiring with knowledge of the kinds of things that you and I are talking about right now, taking it to their grave?
Well, I just don't know. It'd be anything, no, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would. I want to ask you about something else. Over the years, Gordon, a lot of astronauts, Neil Armstrong, for example, at the White House, and many other occasions, a lot of astronauts have made very, very provocative statements that don't quite say that that we are being visited, that the things in our skies are real. They don't quite say that, Gordon, but they almost say it. Neil Armstrong particularly alluded to just some incredible things that will be coming down the line. And do you think that other astronauts are afraid to really tackle this issue straight on?
Well, I think most people are in government, whether it's in NASA or in the Department of Defense, are a little cautious about what they say because there have been so many lies made up about UFOs, and so many lies have been made up about all the space flights and all the various things to do with NASA and space. But I think everybody's a little skeptical about saying anything to anybody.
It'd be kind of like stepping in front of a podium, I suppose, and presenting the latest theory on who killed Kennedy.
Right.
It would be lost in the shuffle. It would be part of the noise. There's so much noise on the subject that, of course, coming from somebody like yourself, or Neil Armstrong, or anybody who's been in our space program, the words that you're saying tonight carry a lot of weight with the American people. Could you have spoken out in the way you're speaking out now when your career was active, when you were still in the space program, and if you had, what would have happened?
Well, I don't think anything would have happened. I always have spoken out pretty loud and clear on it. I've never had any warnings from anybody in the Department of Defense or NASA against speaking out or saying anything. contrary to what some news media are always saying, that, we're always warmed up saying, I've never had any suppression on my speaking out.
Would it be your opinion, Gordon, that our government is very well aware of these things, doing tremendous speeds and maneuvers in and just above our atmosphere? That they are fully aware of this?
I sure hope they are.
But is there any way with the technology that you know and I know they have, that they could not be aware of it?
No, I think there's too many solid certain people can saying things to totally disregard them. And certainly, we independent skeptics who have always said that the speed of light is definitely by far the greatest limitation of any kind of speed we move at, and yet ever since it's been blocked, and nowadays you can be a train on it, zipping around at many times the speed of light all over the place.
That's right. And so you don't imagine that a violation of Einstein's theory about not being able to exceed the speed of light. So you rather imagine that sometime in our distant future, or somebody else's present, it's already been achieved.
Well, even Einstein was modifying all his formulas, and he was using time, when he went back and started using time as a variable rather than a constant. And so before he died, he was opening up his theory to very, very speed.
That's right, he was. All right, Gordon, hold on. We're at the top of the hour. You okay to go ahead?
Sure.
Good, excellent. Stay right where you are. We are honored this night to be speaking with Gordon Cooper, U.S. astronaut Gordon Cooper. And when we get back, we'll come back for a moment to the incident at Edwards Air Force Base. Send the negatives, send them now, don't make any prints. I'm Art Bell, and this is Coast to Coast AM. Once again, here is Gordon Cooper. Gordon, going back again to 1957. At Edwards, we did talk about the photographs that were taken, and it's my understanding that before you sent off these photographs as ordered, you got to see them. You actually got to see the negatives.
Right.
Now,
The negative.
apparently, the cameramen were told that what was in the negative was a balloon.
And several years later, when things came out on it, that's my understanding that someone had interviewed them, and they were told that that's what the pictures were on.
I think that's what the story generally was from about 1940 something or another, maybe the 50s, whatever it was, it's a balloon.
That weather balloon seemed to get around a lot, didn't it?
Well, I understand that you were able to observe, at least in the negatives, that it had a tricycle-like landing gear.
Right.
Interesting balloon.
Yeah, the only balloon I've ever seen was a landing gear. Although, it's funny, one time I was two T-38 pilots, Steve Conrad and I, and Neil Armstrong, LHC, were heading up to St. Louis to do some work on Gemini 5 spacecraft. And we were cruising along around 40-some thousand feet, and two T-38s, this loose formation, and I looked out about 10 o'clock high and said, "What do you see up there about 10 o'clock high?" And Neil came back around, I don't know that I really want to say what it looks like.
Really?
And so we finally called flight service, and we'd like to climb considerably higher and get on up to check something out here. And they said, "Okay, go ahead, you're no obstruction." We climbed, put in afterburners, and climbed, and got up there and pulled up alongside of the great big weather balloon with the radio package hanging underneath it.
It wasn't one of them.
It was a weather balloon. That's all the criticism I made a weather balloon, but there was one that looked very much like a saucer from a distance.
Sure. If it's round and you're looking at it from below,
Yeah.
it's going to look a lot like a saucer, no question about it. So, anyway, your real personal opinion is that there is something going on, and that it's worth investigation.
I think so, yeah.
Gordon, most Americans, unfortunately, because at least the Americans my age, are never going to get to go to orbit. They're never going to be in space. They're never going to know what it feels like.
Don't give up, yeah.
Well, I'm not giving up, but I mean, I just, kind of looking around at the odds right now, I'd say it doesn't look too good. When you first experience weightlessness, is it a terrifying feeling of falling, as I've heard people describe it? Do you get used to it? Do you enjoy it after a while? What's it like?
Well, you kind of get used to it very rapidly. It's an unusual feeling, but it's very relaxing, and you get used to it very rapidly, and it is a very enjoyable feeling. And when you come back to when you have weight again, back on Earth, you realize how heavy you are.
Did you get sick at all?
No, I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
Now, was that because of I presume you guys went through a lot of testing with what they call the vomit count or something or another that would produce temporary states of weightlessness in a dive, right?
Yeah. You find all the shots, and you find you're going across the top, and then circulating away from you.
Well, a lot of people are wondering, one of the mandates, Gordon, that NASA has is to begin to privatize space. And it's really one of the things that has not come to fruition. They were mandated by Congress to begin to privatize space. And if it could ever get in privatized, then maybe some people could literally go to space on vacation someday, I'm sure. Do you believe that process should be hurried?
Well, I think that it's coming along really slow and nowhere to go, but there are a number of companies that are building spacecraft at different times and building several different things, building boosters and private sector. I think the Wilson space, we never had a study of privatization very shortly.
So we're on the verge of it, you say?
I think we are.
You are in the middle of apparently this galaxy group, which is producing among many other things, something called the Pantex 2000, a vertical lift craft with saucer-shaped wings. Why do you think, it says here that you think the saucer shape is the way we should have been going with aircraft design for a long time? Why?
Well, one of the reasons we did not years back is that we had no artificial stability system. And the thought that it wouldn't happen usually is slightly unstable. And with the old idea now of mechanical control system, you could have some trouble controlling it. But now with our business stability, there's no reason why you can't take advantage of all the advantages to get on the saucer. And the saucer certainly has very interesting aerodynamics compared to a wing.
Actually, I don't even understand the aerodynamics of a saucer. I understand a wing, and I understand lift, and I understand the aerodynamic flight, and I don't understand how to relate that to something in a saucer shape.
Well, a saucer really is just like a wing, just like the whole deal of it really is a different body, a different wing.
Well, if you're working if you are heading a company that is doing this, then Is it too much of a leap of faith to imagine that they've got saucer-shaped flying things out at Area 51?
Well, as I said earlier, I certainly hope they do. I hope they're, really, generation ahead of this. That's actually all fair,
At least a few. We've got some people who would like to ask you questions, so
Okay.
let's try that. On the first time caller line, you're on the air with Gordon Cooper and myself. Good morning. Good morning, Arthur. Good morning, Gordon. This is Space Money at AOL. You probably remember me. I sent you numerous emails. Yes, sir. Okay. Anyway, I listen to your show almost every night, and you got a great show on it. Thank you. You have a great Gordon? Yes, this is a question for Gordon. Gordon, I believe it was Neil Armstrong who made a remark, while walking on the moon. This is doing the live actual broadcast when he said that he saw what looked like footprints on the moon. Do either one of you remember Mr. Armstrong making that statement? I do not. Gordon, do you?
No, I don't remember that.
Would you like to have gone to the moon?
Yeah.
You probably would have been a pretty good guy to have along with respect to Apollo 13, with the kind of hands-on experience that you had. Were you ever a candidate for a flight of that sort, or ever considered?
Oh, yeah. I had a follow back that thing. And then, like
I watched a number of programs, Gordon, about the astronaut preparation, the backup teams and so forth. And were people thinking that it would not be too bad if somebody got the flu on the wrong day?
Before
I mean that if somebody who might get flu leaving the seat open for you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was always open around here.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Gordon Cooper. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Bale.
Hi.
Mr. Cooper. My grandfather was in World War II. He was a prisoner of war, and he died 6 years ago. His name was Hamak. Last name was Hamak. And he expressed to me that if I ever speak to you, that I should tell you that you are a true patriot. I don't know if he ever met you or knew you. Apparently he knew you, but I don't know what the connection is, but
He must have known something
yes, sir.
to make that comment.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, thank you very, very much for that. Gordon, I don't know if you can answer this or not, or maybe you can just say you can't answer it, which will tell us as much as really, I guess, an answer would, or nearly as much. And that is this question. Are there many things that occurred to you during the time you were in the space program, or during all the years that you were connected to NASA and experimental aircraft? Are there many things that even today you can't talk about?
No.
Not really?
No.
Nothing of there. Nearly anything at this point would be declassified and you could talk about.
That's
You've heard reports that on some Apollo missions, there were inexplicable things that were seen. Have you not?
I was saying reports in May, and I'm not saying that on a personal matter about intelligence.
There have been, Gordon, some recent, very, very interesting pieces of footage that have come from shuttle flights, STS-48
Yeah,
was one.
I think that.
You saw that, did you? The explanation given for what we saw in STS-28 was ice crystals. Is that the Washington you just saw it?
No, not really ice cream. It was my choice on it would have been medium.
Mediums.
So that's all I found in medium ice on that. I didn't try but it was August and I had medium shot on. So it certainly looked like medium. Yeah.
Okay.
Although it is, there was one that had 21 mosquitoes on there.
It certainly did, didn't it? I watched that again and again, and it seemed as though one was reacting to the other. Was that your impression?
Yeah, that's all right.
Maybe a coincidence, maybe not.
Well, just,
Then there was another more recent shuttle flight, and I'm not sure if it was 50. I think it was 50, Gordon, in which the outboard camera on the shuttle appeared to come down and focus on a specific piece of land. Whoever was controlling the camera from the ground focused on a specific piece of land and zoomed in and waited. And without question, there was something that appeared to come up from the ground at an incredible speed. Perhaps some sort of experiment, perhaps something leaving the atmosphere at a tremendous speed. I really have no idea. Maybe some sort of laser or plasma weapon, or who knows. Have you seen that footage?
no, I haven't seen that.
I would love your view of it. When you were in orbit, spending all that time in orbit, did you spend more time looking outward toward the stars or back toward Earth?
Oh, I'd say about equal amount done,
Equal amount of time. Did you ever see anything in orbit that you kind of did a double take on? Because so much of the film that we get back from these STS missions is kind of strange stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain. And you were there, you were in orbit, so.
Yeah, I looked and looked, but I never looked at it, and I knew that, that's the first one I was
If you, back then, were able to take photographs of life in space, then they should, by now, very nearly be able to count the hairs on our head if they wanted to. Is that too much of a leap of faith, or do you agree?
I agree.
To imagine that is up there, to imagine they can do that is something to think about, really it is.
I really put that land on.
Have you ever thought about going back to space? I mean,
I'm waiting for Mars.
Mars, huh?
I want to get my old age study like down here on the shuttle. I want mine on the Mars mission.
Were there any ill effects? I didn't hear of one for John and Glenn.
No, I don't think he did. I think he came very good.
In great shape, as a matter of fact. So, what does that tell us then about the rigors of space flight? Given that even though John Glenn is long tooth, he's in pretty good shape. But doesn't that really mean that if we could do it, the average American really could go to space?
Sure. I think that was where I'm going to say.
All right, Gordon, hold on. We'll do one more thing. Stay right there.
Okay.
All right, my guest is Gordon Cooper. His book is Leap of Faith, and it's not out yet, but it will be. When it is, you'll want to grab it right away. We'll get your order in now. I'm Art Bell. This is Coast to Coast AM.
I realize how you don't compare.
All right, back down to Gordon Cooper. Gordon, let me tell you this. I was wrong about STS 50. It was STS 80. And I described to you that camera which zoomed in. And I had somebody here in the house, Gordon, who worked on SDI. And I showed them this clip from STS 80. And they were sort of sitting there interested in observing, and all of a sudden this thing shoots up from Earth, obviously. And this person, who I will not identify for their own safety, said, "Oh my God, I worked on that." So I guess since you didn't see it, I would ask you, would you like to see it?
Sure.
And perhaps render an opinion for us.
Okay.
It's one of the most spectacular things I've ever seen, and I sure would like to get your opinion. So I'll see to it that you see it. How's that?
Star Wars is not bad, man.
One more wild question, and that is, obviously, I mean, I think all Americans know that the astronauts had an awful lot of camaraderie. You guys were very close, very competitive, but very close. And there must have been a lot of times when you got to sit in a bar somewhere knocking back a few with some of the other guys. Were you ever told anything by any of the other astronauts about anything that was seen on the moon or elsewhere that they didn't really particularly want to talk about in public?
No, I never had. I mean, I thought you would have been, you know, had you seen him,
I interviewed Edgar Mitchell just while he was on, and he made some comments that to this day I wonder about, Gordon, and they were, he said, you know, it's kind of strange, but when I try to think back and remember my emotions and my feelings as I was walking on the moon, I can't. And that always puzzled me. You would think that would be such a high point in your life that there would be almost nothing that you would forget about it or you know, that you didn't notice. But he did make that comment on the air with me, and I thought that was very strange.
One of the things that people don't realize is that all through every space flight, so well planned, and everything to tell you. And the fact that every second of the whole flight is planned out because the time is so valuable, you know.
That they don't have time for that.
So you really don't have time to do a lot of errand planning, and you're really concerned about staying on your timeline and getting this done, getting this done. So a lot of your concentration is on doing the job.
That's a really good point. And it goes, then let me ask you about this. I've long said that people many times they don't see things in our skies because, you know, we're driving our cars or we're doing our tests and we're not spending a lot of time looking up at the sky.
That's right. You can't very well look up at the sky when you're going down the freeway somewhere.
Not literally. So, was it kind of the same way with you? In other words, you did get to look out the window, but they kept you pretty busy too, didn't they?
Oh yeah, that's every space flight is very busy.
All right, here we go. First time caller line, you're on the air with Gordon Cooper. Hello.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning, sir. Where are you?
I'm a truck driver. Right now I'm in Syracuse, New York.
All right.
And Mr. Cooper, Gordo, my name. Kudos. Thumbs up. Double thumbs up. I'm a former crew chief in the Air Force.
Oh, very good.
I was a tanker crew chief and an 8-tank crew chief. I was interested, my main question to you, sir, was during the early parts of the space project, we really didn't know what was out in space, near Earth orbit objects. What was the concern on that?
That's really a good question. Actually, this I'll expand it, but was there a lot of concern about near-Earth objects, things that might be orbiting our planet that you might run into accidentally?
Yeah, but actually, even in very early days, we had a pretty good handle on where all these pieces of space junk and parts and everything were. We knew where most of them were. I just in hopes that they didn't run into something that didn't over there.
I've got in front of me a picture of the space junk that is around our planet right now, and it's astounding. I mean, it's absolutely astounding, particularly in low Earth orbit. It looks like a complete junkyard.
Yeah.
Is that dangerous?
Well, no, not too bad. It's, most of it's all going to come right doing the same way, and but you're losing a lot of it every year. You know, you burn up a lot out of everything running. And in the lower orbits, it starts to orbit decay, and so and burning it.
Gordon, since we're talking about stuff burning up in the atmosphere, you didn't happen to hear the first hour of my program tonight, did you?
No, I didn't.
You didn't. I had a member of the clergy on, Gordon, down in Florida, who actually, I can only reveal so much about what he does, but he has some connections with the Air Force Base there, and there was something that came into our atmosphere over Florida, or Tampa, the Tampa area, moving west, that zigs and zags in ways that anything that you would imagine would be entering the atmosphere is not possibly here. And he claims that four, I think, F-16s were scrambled in the direction this object had come from. And that 3 of the F-16s lost all control, all power for a very short period, but all at once. Is there any way that you can calculate the odds of that occurring?
Well, if you had a large like a main anomaly sometimes, the F-16 is visible flight control that from you. And I can remember an incident several years ago where the F-16 flew by a very large radio transmitting tower and lost all control for a short period of several seconds.
Really? The authorities suggested that what came down was a Russian rocket booster. Would a rocket booster burning up in the atmosphere, in your opinion, produce that kind of strong magnetic pulse?
Well, it's hard to say. I guess it's always possible. But it's kind of too likely that it's another possibility, I suppose.
It didn't sound too likely to me either. All right. Wildcard Line, you're on the air with Gordon Cooper. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Where are you?
From Houston, this is Karen. Hey, Art.
Hi, Karen.
Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
You're familiar with Story Musgrave, is that right?
Oh, yes.
Well, Art, I believe on one of your programs, someone had called in and said that at a convention that was held in Hawaii not too long ago,
Yes.
towards the first of the year, or sometime around then, and Story had given a presentation, and he closed his presentation by pointing to like a depiction of the grave, and he said, gentlemen, something to the effect that these guys are real. Actually,
that's exactly right, Gordon. Story was in Hawaii. I have a very good friend, acquaintance, who works at a television station in Honolulu, and he went and covered a talk that Story was giving. And at the very end of the talk, Story, in fact, uncovered some kind of palette, I guess, that was up on the stage, and there was a picture of what's known to many in the UFO community as an alien gray. And stone face, he said, these guys are out there. And there was kind of a nervous laugh in the audience. People weren't sure whether to laugh and or to take him, whether it was intended to be a joke or it was intended to be serious. Would you have laughed?
No,
No?
I think there's been a lot of very reliable people who've been in contact. To refute the possibility that that's real.
Gee, Gordon, you seem to think like a lot of the rest of us do. And you say you've been this outspoken on the subject all your life.
Pretty much so, right.
Somehow, most people would have imagined that to be a career starter, but obviously yours didn't get filled. All right, East of the Rockies, you're on there with Gordon Cooper. Good morning. Hello there.
Yes.
Yes, sir, you're on the air.
Okay. My question is, when you see the vehicle that landed on the airstrip, or did you see pictures of it?
No, what he saw was negatives. In other words, two photographers at Edwards Air Force Base took photographs of this object. And Gordon got to see the negatives of the pictures that were taken before they were spirited off to Washington, never to be heard from again.
Okay. Of course, it never made Project Blue Book then.
Not as far as I know.
Yeah. Is there any?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any way you could access it through Freedom of Information now? Do you think, or
I think it's been tried several times.
do you know the photographers that took the pictures?
No, I don't really recall. I looked up their name somewhere in one of the reports. Someone who dug it up on Freedom Information. I can't recall what they are anymore.
You don't remember what came back. In other words, it was non-responsive in some way.
Yeah, one is I think it involved in the weather balloon or something.
Yeah. Did the reporters, did they talk to Mr. Cooper about it, or have you talked to them, or?
Which reporter?
Or the photographers, I mean, that took the photographs. Did they talk about it?
Oh, yeah, they talked about it. Right.
What did they tell you? Did they tell you any more about it as far as what the landing gear was like?
That's a very good question, yes.
Yeah, I guess they were in the tower up in the air, but yeah, silver in the tower. It was definitely a saucer, and then just stay over Finley landing gear was put down.
No wheels on the landing gear?
Yeah, as I recall, there's either a little nubbins or a small wheel on them.
Something like the Avro car or something like that?
Yeah, well, I think probably you know, just roll it around. You sit on the ground and still roll it around.
But bear in mind, this was back in the 1950s.
Right. Yeah.
So, as far as I know, when you think about the 1950s, there wasn't anything like that about.
Yeah, as far as we know. Just whether the military was working on that or not. You know, it's like the Avro car and that type of thing. They did have different vehicles that they were trying to build. But it did look like, to them, it didn't seem like, or it did seem like something that was man-made or foreign.
Well, it's hard to say, but I'm not saying they are before.
You had? No.
You know, the little bit that I see on the name.
All right, sir?
Yes, that's very good.
All right, take care. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Gordon Cooper. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Bell. This is Chris in Eugene, Oregon.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. This is a great honor, Gordo. I was wondering, now, did you imagine, this is kind of a two-part question, did you imagine that we would not be further along by the year 2099 now than we are? And what direction now do you think the space program should really concentrate on? So like planetary exploration, and then what sort?
I have a lot of questions. First of all, let's start with this. It is a good question. When you were making your space flights, did you imagine that when we were thinking about the year 2000, that we'd be a lot further along, maybe by now, to Mars or beyond?
Well, I thought we'd be long beyond Mars by now. I think we had enough progress. It was incredible how slowly we started and so it's better what we shouldn't have.
Do you agree that we've stagnated?
Yeah. And I think where we need to concentrate is man, scientific exploration. We need to get back to the moon, we need to get to Mars.
So, in other words, you don't buy into this cheaper, faster, unmanned, can do it argument.
Well, I think that we ought to use the unmanned wherever possible, so we get as much information as we can from them, but we proved on the interventions that a man had about 1,000,001 data response rather than unmanned. So, the unmanned are only as good as the programmer who programs who knows what to look for. And the unexpected things you find, they don't know what to look for.
Well, that's right. And we had a little robot, I recall, recently on Mars, which was nice. However, one can only imagine how much more information a man could have given.
How, Mr. Cooper, what direction do you think that the space program should be going? What do you think the focus should be now?
Well, I think we're proceeding one good direction with the space station because we're involving about 16 or 17 other nations in that. That's the only they can get international probably to do a good jumping off on. We need that space station to go on out into space.
It is, however, getting pretty expensive.
Yes, it is.
Okay, first time caller line, you're on there with Gordon Cooper. Where are you, sir?
I'm Chris. I'm calling from Springfield, Illinois.
Okay, Chris.
I wanted to ask Mr. Cooper, when he first took off on his Mercury flight, was he surprised at how much juice he pulled? Was there any surprises or anything he hadn't anticipated, in his flight?
Okay.
No, because we had calculated how many would be full. And we've done a lot of practicing in chemistry into the profile, that was very similar profile. And for the actual launch profile, was very close to what we worked out on the chemistry.
Gordon, what made you decide to write a book?
Well, I've been writing down little notes, writing little anecdotes, and stuff in ways to find. I had the whole podcast full of stuff. I think I needed to, get somebody to help me kind of get it organized a little bit fast. Writing maybe a little better phone.
The person who helped you with all this, was he surprised at some of the information that you gave him?
Well, I guess he was, yeah.
Because he sure did, I talked to him, and he sure did sound surprised to me.
Yeah.
So I guess it's going to be a pretty good book.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, listen, I've been a radio host for a lot of years, and I cannot tell you, Gordon, how much of an honor it has been to talk with you. And I hope that when your book comes out, let's see, that's going to be the spring of 2000. That's not very far away. So, if I can, when it does come out, I'd love to have you on again.
I think, yeah.
Would that be all right?
Yeah.
All right, in the meantime, I'm going to hold up my interview, and I'm going to get you a copy of that footage of SDF-80.
Okay.
If you'd be willing to render an opinion to us, all right?
Okay.
Gordon Cooper, thank you.
Thank you,
Good night, my friend.
Good night, man.
That's it, folks. That's Gordon Cooper. And I'm serious about that. What a great honor. What a great honor to be able to speak with a man like that. You're listening to Coast to Coast AM, and we're going to take a break here at the